All right, welcome back, guys. This is Ryan from Elevate Security, and in this video, we'll be resuming here on this web shell we found on the bashed box. So here we are. Just to recap, we're www data through this web shell, as you can see here, and we want to find out more about this system, right? Obviously, this is a Linux command prompt here. The underlying server is Linux, as we expected. Running a shell using PHP. So that's what a web shell is. So in this case, it's a PHP-based web shell. So what that means is it's leveraging the PHP programming language, like the system, PHP system, which is like a is basically the PHP code that is running commands on the underlying server. So hopefully that wasn't too hard to understand. So basically what I'm saying here is I'm not running the commands directly. I'm sending it to PHP, and PHP is running the commands, right? So that's going to have some interesting implications, as we'll see here in just a moment. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a priv checker script, and obviously this is something that if stealth is of the issue, then this isn't very stealthy. However, it is a good choice for CTFs, because when you don't have to worry about stealth, then yeah, just run like especially in OSCP and stuff, definitely run your priv checker script. Grab it from the GitHub and then raw. Since it is a simple bash script, just viewing this, we can just wget it and it'll already be in the right format and everything. It's only one file. If it was multiple files, we would use like a git clone, but in this case we don't really need to. This should do the trick. Keep making me do it as root though. What we're gonna do is we're gonna host it, and let me just check my IP address really quickly here. This is actually the other shell, right? Yeah, okay, I have a tmux shell over here. That's the one I really want to use. So let's just hop on over to here, go back, we'll go to opt this, and we're gonna use Python for this, but first let's just check our IP address. In this case, we're 10.10.14.2. That's gonna come in handy. We're gonna need to know that, but right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna host this file with a simple HTTP server. This is a nice little script that you can run from Python. They'll allow you to host your stuff. Well, we'll just let it run on its default port, 8000. Looks like I had something else maybe running on 80, or actually I think you have to do that with the sudo command to run it on those standard ports. I think that was like the main issue with that. So what I'm gonna do now, we got that hosted on our machine. We're gonna come over here. The reason I went to dev.shm is it is entirely in memory, and you usually have permissions to write to it, even if you're www data, right? So that's the reason I went to this particular directory. Now let me grab it using wget once again. So we were 10.10.14.2, I do believe, and the file was called linenum.sh. So if maybe we were a different IP, let's see. 10.10.14.2, and let me just verify. linenum.sh. Oh, right, port 8000, right, that's something I forgot about. So remember, we're hosting on port 8000, so we got to specify that. Now we have it. Okay, cool. So we could try to run it with the bash command. So bash linenum.sh, see if that works. Okay, cool. It is running. So we did get it to run here. So what this does with this linenum.sh is it's a bash script that runs a lot of checks and gives you a lot of information. And so we're going to have to sift through this and see if there's anything that catches our eye. Now, if you're really beginner at pen testing, this is going to look really overwhelming, but I assure you, the more CTFs that you do, the more Linux knowledge you have, you're going to start to get a lot more familiar with it. It's going to be really difficult at first because you're not going to know what... You're going to see something that should jump out at you if you were experienced, but you're just not used to... You don't really know what's normal and what's abnormal, so it makes it kind of difficult. But Linux is something that it's always the same, doesn't really change, so you just gotta... Looks like I ran this multiple times on accident, but yeah, you just gotta get your reps in with Linux, and you'll start to be able to understand what is what makes something vulnerable or not with Linux. So we'll start at the top here, and we just get some basic information on the kernel, which is pretty up to date from when this box came out. So probably not anything there. Plus we need our initial foothold. So looks like it's the host name there. Now, it looks like there's this user on the system. It's a Rexel guy, so maybe that's the account we can maybe compromise at some point. These are the different groups, which, okay, yeah, here's just knowing this is abnormal here. There's script manager. I don't normally see that as a group on a Linux machine. So that is one they added. And then, yeah, from the Etsy password file, you see this account right here. Once again, script manager. Okay, and this is quite interesting here. This is quite interesting. Our user here, www.data, can run script manager with no password. Any command. Okay, that's pretty interesting. That's probably the way in, I would have to say. I would have to say that's probably the way in. So if we do sudo -u, this allows us to specify another user, script manager, and see, who am I? It should be script manager, right? So we're able to run that sudo command as the script manager without supplying a password, because that's how that's how the admins, the sysadmins, configured this Linux box. So the vulnerability here is a misconfiguration, Linux misconfiguration that we're going to use to exploit to the fullest extent of the law. So yeah, we'll just lay down the hammer there.